Oh, actually, I should actually go back. Sorry, is everybody able to hear me okay? I'll talk up a little bit. Okay. All right, so what I wanted to go over today is how to, the very basic way that GitHub integrates with Docassemble. So I'm not going to teach you everything about GitHub, but how to use it to save your work in progress, which is a really good habit to have when working on a longer interview. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check and see I have a demo account here. Give that developer rights. I'm going to log in as that user. See what it would look like from that person's perspective. So does everybody have a basic idea of what GitHub is and what Git is? I see Lena nodding her head. Anybody else on the phone have any?
You can explain it. Quentin, this is Jacqueline. I wouldn't mind a layperson's rundown of what it is.
Okay. So I'll take you to the website. GitHub is a place where people can share code that they're working on. It's kind of a social website for sharing code. And it uses a technology called Git, which is one kind of version control system. And what version control means is a way to track the different versions of your project. So if you've ever had that situation when you're writing a brief and you have like version 1, version 2, final, version 2, final, final, really final this time, it helps you avoid that problem. You can keep track of all the different versions that you have in progress, and it's all in one place, and you can see how it's changed over time. So just to give you an example of what that could do, here's one that we talked about this project last week, the signing project. It only has 5 commits. That means there's 5 times I've saved my work in progress up to GitHub. And at each point, I can see, well, what did I change with this branch? And it shows highlighted in red the deletions and then highlighted in green the new text. And this is just kind of context around it. That lets you see, okay, where in the file were you working at that time? You can imagine, like, there's some really nice things about doing this. If you've ever made a mistake in your code, and sometimes it's a part you're not touching for a while, you go back in and you're like, oh, when did I break that? And what was it looking like when it was working? Version control lets you do that kind of history, look back and see working versions of your code. You can keep track of exactly how much is changing when. And it helps you just in general keep things working in a better way. It's also one more place to have your work saved when it is in progress, so that you're not going to be as likely hurt by something happening to your server. Because computers fail, and it's just an extra backup in that respect too. Caroline earlier was alluding to branching. That's kind of a more advanced use of GitHub and Git specifically. None of the things I'm talking about are things specific to GitHub. GitHub just happens to be the server that connects to Docassemble that lets you use Git easily. But you can use Git without a server or with, there's a few different hosted services like GitHub, but even that are also free, just like GitHub is free. So branching is one thing you can do. So if you, say you have your project here, and that's one point in time, you want to keep working at having releases over time with more features, but this is your roadmap. You want to add something new that's going to take a while and that might break things. So you can do that on the side. Meanwhile, you keep making updates to the main branch of your project. And then later, when this new feature is ready, you can integrate it. And GitHub will help you add it back in without breaking the other things that are already working. Yeah, actually, I can animate it. I know how to clear the institution. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a basic overview of what it does. So actually, before we can get too far, I think each of you should create a GitHub account now. So I'll just walk you through what that looks like. If everyone just takes a minute to go to github.com. And click the sign up button. You might have to solve a little puzzle, I guess. I won't go through all of the creating account process, but it's just like you've done at most websites you've seen before. Choose a username, put in your email address and your password. And later, so you should know if you're interested in ever like sharing your work, this can be like a way to, some people use it as kind of like a public portfolio of their work. People tend to make the work they share on GitHub public, but you can use it as a private place to store your work in progress too. So you might want to choose a username that's easy to remember and that you would want to share with people. You can use your work, email work or not. And I'm just going to give everybody like a minute to try to do that. I think I should make an account here. Hold on. Just for purposes of just so I can show you exactly how the giving permission part works. And I guess I have to do this puzzle still. That's maybe click on. Okay, so you should be fine with the free account. One of the things that GitHub recently did is they extended the free account so you can have private repositories too, which is pretty nice. For $7 a month, you get some more features. GitHub was just bought by Microsoft, so it was really trying to commit to open source and they actually have pretty deep pockets, obviously, to help keep GitHub going. Okay, so now if everyone's created their account, you can go back to your Docassemble server, and we're going to go to our profile page. So under that drop down with your username. And if GitHub is integrated for your server, which I think it should be for anybody who's DBLS server as well as the Mass Legal Help server. And you just click on GitHub integration here and configure. Okay, so it's telling me I have to verify my email. I'm going to do that. You probably have to do the same thing. You just signed up. I'm doing it on my phone. All right. Well, one issue I'm having now is I might have to get that link or get my password. So I'm going to just pause the screen share for a second to copy my password in. All right, so if you hadn't already verified your email, you might have to go back to that same user profile page and launch that again. All right.
I think that it is blocking it through Comcast because it thinks that it's spam.
Oh, okay.
But I can't, my password is
Okay.
for my Comcast.
Oh, no. I don't remember what it is. It should be the same as your login password. Okay.
I tried both my old ones that I had before and the new one that I changed it to.
Okay. I don't know why it wouldn't be working here, but one other place to try is on Mimecast.com.
Okay.
Because then it might, maybe it's something just with the. But you'll have time to do this out,
Yeah.
I think. So. Anybody on the phone running into anything for the GitHub? All right. So click configure once you have your account email verified. And then what you're doing is you're just authorizing our server to connect. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, it might be like locked out or something like that.
I don't know, I can just watch and see what you guys do.
Or you can make a new account with your personal email if that's easier.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just authorize our account to connect to your GitHub account. And you have GitHub turned on. Anybody want me to pause here a little bit longer, or should we keep on going?
You can keep going.
Okay. All right. So we've done the backend thing to connect it. It really is that simple. It's just like going to the profile and authorizing this server to connect your GitHub account. That's really all that we did there. And now to use GitHub, we go to a menu which some of you probably have already seen, but some of you may not have used yet, which is just this packages menu under folders. Now that we've turned, this menu was already there before, but now that you've enabled GitHub integration, you are also able to use GitHub from this menu. The nice thing about Docassemble is it really hides away a lot of the complexity of using GitHub for you. It really is just like one step that you take at the end of a good stopping point in your development. But probably not all of you have seen this packages page either before. And I don't want to go too far ahead of you.
No, I think that I'm there.
Okay, great.
I think.
So now if you have your account, probably just go ahead and do the profile part.
Okay, yeah, I did that and I
Okay.
think that it's configured.
Great. So now we're going up under folders, packages. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can give our package a name. Whatever name you give it, Docassemble adds Docassemble hyphen to the beginning. So you can just leave that part out. So I'm going to make my package, I'm going to call it demo. Version number is something you should change every time you make an update. That will help you see what version you have installed. And you can set the rest whatever you like. It's a good idea to add like a little message here in the README file every time you make an update also. That way people will see it right on the package page. So, let me see. For for this particular demo account, I don't have anything to add. So I'm going to go back and save my demo.yaml file, I guess. Maybe it just knows not to use that one. There you have that there. I was just looking at it. Okay, so I'll walk you through the basics here. So dependencies, those are packages that your package needs to run. So we've been doing some work with the GBLS package. For whatever reason, this is alphabetized where capital letters go before, all the capital letters happen before the lowercase letters. And all your custom packages all start with a lowercase Docassemble. So scroll down there. And let's add a dependency here to the Docassemble.gbls package. We could do more dependencies if we want. I'm holding down the control key to select multiple things here. You want to have the minimum number of things that you actually are using. There's no reason to require more things than you really are using specific to your interview. And if this interview that I'm including includes something else, I only have to include the thing closest to what I really want, if that makes sense. I don't have to include the things that GBLS requires. Then you go ahead and select the files that you want to include. It's the same thing. If there's multiple here, I would use the control key to select more than one. This, I don't have any templates, but you would obviously probably most of the time include an interview and a template. Maybe some images or Python modules too. So then the very first time you create your package, you have to save it first. And then I'm going to name it something other than demo, and I guess you should too, because it already exists on the server. I mean, I named mine demo too. So if you're using the GBLS server, you should name yours demo 3 or 4 or something like that. Or you can put your name in there, of course. And now what I'm going to do is, there's 2 buttons here that I'm going to make use of pretty often. One is the install button, and the other is the GitHub button. To actually push my changes up to GitHub, I click the GitHub button. And I just type a short message that explains what are the changes I made with this version. Usually the first version has the initial version. And then every other change after that is bug fixes. You might get this. Actually, we should probably talk with Jonathan about this. Is a bug that was introduced recently. You might get that the first time you push up a new package to GitHub. But if you try again, it should push it without any errors. You wouldn't get that if you started on GitHub. I'll show you that too, I guess. I'm not sure why that error just came in a recent version. Okay, so now let's go back to our GitHub. You can refresh the screen on GitHub, and you should be able to see our new repository there.
So Quentin, it knows it. So you've connected your playground, or you've connected your Docassemble account with your GitHub account in your profile. So that's how it knows you can just push it up to create a repository in GitHub, right?
Yep, and it uses something called OAuth. So
yeah,
this might be getting a little bit too much. So I didn't have to tell my GitHub password to Docassemble. All that I did is I was already logged into GitHub. Docassemble took me to a page where I gave approval to Docassemble to use my GitHub account. So it doesn't know my password or anything like that. It just knows it has permission. It has like a special token it can use to keep connecting and making changes when I make changes. And you can always go ahead and revoke that later if you wanted to. The one more thing that you want to do is if you have any organization accounts that you make use of, and this particular account doesn't, but if I did, let me log into, now that I've shown you that basic stuff, I'm going to go ahead and log back into my own regular GitHub account and my own regular account on the Docassemble server too. And I'll show you that screen, because this is something that took me a little while to figure out recently. If you want to keep your repository on an organization account, like here, there's some repositories that are on GDLS and some under my personal user handle, Nonprofit Techie. Then you go to that same OAuth page, Settings, Applications, Authorized, OAuth Apps, and you can grant permission to your organization right here at the bottom. So that green check is there because I already have given permission for it to use that. And actually it was this account is the one I meant to be pointing to. So this has permission on my organization account. That'll let Docassemble save your changes to the organization place the repository is saved. If you don't do that, what Docassemble does, it'll create a second package for you. Like one, you think it's on the organization account, but Docassemble will push it up to your own account and it'll make a duplicate package. I don't know, Caroline, have you run into that before? I know you were using the Mass Legal Help repository. Have you seen that problem?
Just go through what was the problem? You mean just getting it straight between your organization and your own account? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so if you want to push changes that you're making from Docassemble to a GitHub repository that's not your personal GitHub repository,
yeah,
you have to make sure that your organization is granted access.
Yeah, I did that. I remember, I remember it was problematic, and I think that's where I think you're going to show the other way to do this. I think what we do is we start off, we create an empty package on GitHub, and the organization owns the repository. Then you download it to your personal playground on Docassemble server. That's the way we got around that. But I do remember having to grant permissions as well. So, okay. But I think that's the way. I think that was the sort of the easiest way for us to do it, was to start at GitHub, create an empty package at the organization level, and then bring it down. But I wrote notes about it, but I wasn't. That's why I did the notes, because I was like, what do we do? What do we do? What are we doing? What do we do next? So yeah. Yeah.
This is a recent change. So just until a few weeks ago, Docassemble didn't know how to connect to your organization.
Oh, I see.
But
so, yeah.
Anyway, but it stopped working suddenly the way I was expecting it to, and then I don't know why it was working before. But anyway, now it officially knows about your organization. It might be something GitHub changed where it would like kind of transparently redirect you, and it doesn't work exactly the same way anymore. So you should check into this. If you suddenly notice you have two copies of the repository, one that's your personal one that's getting the updates and the organization one that's not, you might have to go back and do the same thing of granting your organization access.
Yeah, I remember it was pretty confusing, this bit.
Yeah. I know we're really in the weeds now, though, so let's go back and I'll show you one other thing, which is, let's say in my demo account, I want to pull someone else's repository. This is where you can start working with another GitHub concept, which we talked about, branches. That's where you're the developer and you're making your changes on the side, right? So again, this is the branch. And this is the regular line of your project. So forking is another concept, which is, I'm trying to draw on the screen here, do number 2, user number 1, who has their own copy of your project. They're making their own changes that they have complete control over, and that you don't have to approve or disapprove, but they also don't affect your copy of the code. So we're going to fork a small project, I guess. Let's see. Maybe the same DocSign one. So to get a copy of any package into your own playground, all you have to do is copy the main URL. There's no special, you don't have to use any of these links. You just copy the same URL the browser has. And you put it here, where it says GitHub URL. And you can just pull it. You can see here, like we talked about branching, there's only one branch in this project. But if you wanted to pull a specific branch, you could, and if it existed.
So an example of that would be you've done your financial statement for Social Security, and then we have to do a financial statement for Department of Revenue, Child Support Enforcement, but it's slightly different. So
yeah.
What I might do is go to your GitHub repository, fork your financial statement, and then download the fork to my Docassemble so that I can take what you've done and then manipulate it and not worry about it going, you're not going to want the changes that I make in the Social Security financial statement. So that would be an example when I'd fork yours, use yours, and then edit it to make it work for me.
Yes. Yes, it would be that, exactly. So when I pull it in, I haven't actually forked it, so this is going to be a live test of
right
right now. Let's just try changing some of the version. I think it's going to give me an error, actually. Let's just check. Because I don't have permissions. This account that I'm logged into doesn't have permissions. Okay, that's the error that I would hope to see. I think maybe, actually, it's not giving me an error. Maybe it is doing what I thought, where it's just creating another copy of the package. Okay, yeah, it is. So it's just that other error of the first time you use the new package name. So now if I go back to my Lemma Legal account on GitHub, I should have 2 repositories now instead of just 1. So I have a copy of the DocSign package. It's my own copy. If I click on it, if I had used the other method of
so this isn't a fork. Yeah. This one is not. But you have your own copy. So
yeah.
Yes, so exactly. When you sync it, it's going to sync to your Lemma Legal GitHub account, even though you copied it from the GBLS account. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the own copy. It's actually not really a fork. So the benefit of a fork is, which is really what I was trying to get to, is forking something lets you make your own changes and sync them just like a branch does, but you don't need permission of the person who created the main project. So once you're ready with your changes and you want to get them added to the main project, GitHub helps you merge those changes. You can submit your changes to the author completely from within the GitHub interface. You do what's called a pull request, and that GitHub will help you automatically merge your changes with the current version of the software. This is the way that open source developers work pretty often. We don't really need to go into that very much more. Those are the main concepts, really. So committing, pulling a package, that's what we did when we got into the playground, forking and branching. And we didn't really go a lot into branching. There's a lot to it, especially with merging changes. If it's not easy to figure out which version, which line is the right one, your changes. But for basic work, this is really all that you need to know. I think that was fairly dense, but does anybody have any questions so far about how to use GitHub with Docassemble?
So when you're on your GitHub and you want to look at, like, say I wanted to look at your repositories,
Oh,
would I just search for you?
great question. Yeah, and maybe another thing for us to go over is like, what's the structure of the actual package? So GitHub stores whatever files you have. So if you wanted to find the projects that I did, they're in two places. One is under github.com/gbls, and the other is under /nonprofit-techie. So those are two places I've committed stuff. But this is the structure of a Docassemble package. There's a bunch of files that you can ignore. You don't have to do anything with any of those files, except maybe the README file, which is just information about the project. Everything lives under Docassemble, and then the name of your package, data. So it's like 3 levels deep before you actually get to the real file. And then from within here, these folders match the folders that you see. One difference is any Python files, which I know probably most people here haven't made any Python files. Those would live up here, the same level as this init.py file, instead of a separate folder called modules. Hopefully that's familiar to people. So the modules folder I'm talking about is the one that you would see under this menu here. That just isn't mirrored in the actual package that gets pushed up to GitHub. So you can click through, get data questions. Oh, I already had that in there. Okay. And then you can click on the file and view it from there and copy and paste it into your playground if you wanted to. Or you can pull the whole package and it would be all of the files with their original names. So there are a couple of different ways to do that. Well, the next thing I can show you, I guess, is something. Let's say that we have developed our package. So it's finished. It's ready to get installed on the production server. We've all been working on the demo server, the development server. We would push it to GitHub, go to our production server. I'm going to not do that on the production server right now. I'm going to go to package management. And then here, just like I did in the pull package menu earlier, I just copy and paste the name of the package on GitHub. So let's go to our demo package. We don't want to use the DocSign ones that already exist. It might create a conflict. And then there's this big upgrade button up there. We actually go down here to update to install it. So as you're working on your package over time and you feel like you're ready to push it into production, that's the basic workflow that you follow. So every time you make a change, I recommend going through this menu. What I've noticed is there is a menu that lets you install your package in the playground. But if the server restarts, it will not. It's probably a bug that could be fixed, but it doesn't respect what you've done from the playground, but it will remember what you've done from that package management. Yeah, that's really a third reason to use GitHub. It's an easy way to share and install your finished code on somebody else's server. So everybody, if you have some projects that you've been working on, I recommend that you start using GitHub so you can keep track of them and help catch changes more easily. We have like another, at least another 10 minutes. I know we have some other new people on the call too. Don't want to put you on the spot, but let's see, maybe I'll stop recording because we don't necessarily, the main point of this was to talk about GitHub. Does anybody have any questions before I stop the recording? About GitHub, I guess.
I'm good. Thank you.